Hello everyone, it's Sam over at Scorpio Rising Astrology, and today we are going over the Jupiter-ruled signs, and we have Pisces on the docket today. The sign of the fishes will be going into what makes them so fishy. Anyway, all jokes aside, let's go ahead, pull up the PowerPoint, and we'll investigate this mutable water sign. Okie dokie, so come on. So Pisces 101, what? And that's on technology. So what we're going to really talk about today is the blessing and the curse of Pisces, really. And the blessing of Pisces is, you know, its ability to be compassionate and empathetic towards others. It is essentially the most watery of the water signs. And because of that, it has a certain set of skills. But because of that, it also has a certain set of weaknesses. And I will often agree with the traditional interpretation of Pisces as the drowning fish. And that statement makes no sense, right? Because Pisces is a fish. It shouldn't drown in water. But that's very much the essence of Pisces, is finding conflict even when it's in their own element. And how does one navigate the oceans of one's own experience without creating internal conflict or absorbing internal conflict and making something that would otherwise be a pleasant experience uncomfortable due to Pisces weaknesses like lack of boundaries. So this is the discussion when we look at Pisces, is how the mutable qualities of Pisces really start to work against it, but when properly channeled, how Pisces can really be one of the most healing and kind signs of our entire zodiac. Okay, so just like in the Sagittarius video, I'm really obsessed with the idea of the Holy Grail being associated with the Jupiter-ruled signs, Sagittarius and Pisces. Now, one of the things that I always tell my students is when you study a water sign, you have to understand the nature of water, right? And the nature of water is often different depending on what sign you're looking at, whether that's Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces. But in the case of Pisces, we have mutable water, the wateriest of water. And there are some natural rules to this element that need to be observed. First is that water conforms to the vessel that it is placed in. And that's a very important phrase to know about water signs in general, is to a certain degree, they require other people, places, things to pour themselves into to give themselves natural shape. Okay? And that means that they tend to very much compromise their own sense of self for others and those in the immediate proximity of their kind of energetic tendrils. Because when they pour themselves into somebody else to receive a new shape, to receive a new perspective, to empathize, to bond, to share connection with those people, they often tend to disorient themselves in the process. And that's somewhat problematic, right? If the vessel is unclean, if the vessel is unpure, if the vessel is full of crap, yeah. But at its best, yeah, water can clean, water can heal. Water, when held in a vessel, can be consumed, yeah, without slipping through your fingers. And so the holy grail of Jupiter-ruled signs, in this case, we would think of the mythical world of Atlantis, the society that was perfect until it, in some way, shape, or form, depending on the myth that you choose, sunk below the sea and delved into the watery depths due to its inability to manage its own resources or maintain its life above ground. And that is the quintessential Pisces story, right? So Pisces as a water element really does give us a lot of insight into what makes Pisces tick. It is a water sign, therefore emotions are going to be very important. Therefore, intuitive skills are going to be increased. Therefore, the ability to cultivate empathy and compassion will also be increased. Yeah. Now, the issue with this water sign in particular is being water and mutable. And the image that I will often use to teach about Pisces is the jellyfish, right? The jellyfish is kind of like this amorphous blob of a creature. You know, it can live for literally 100 years or so, just by floating. Yeah. And that's very much all that it does. It has a little bit of propulsion, but mostly it just kind of floats along and absorbs whatever is around it to maintain its nutrients. If a fish swims into its tentacles, great, it kills them, and then absorbs them over time. But that is a chance occurrence. And that's very much how Pisces operates, is it will just absorb whatever is around it. Due to that mutability and that water nature combining, Pisces really does lack boundaries. And that can be problematic because water also reflects naturally anything that it comes into contact with. And so Pisces will not only take on the shape and the form of other people, yeah, but they will also absorb all of their shit. And that becomes difficult for Pisces. Those same traits are also what allows Pisces to be excellent clinicians, excellent parents, excellent partners and spouses and friends, if they're able to distinguish between what is theirs and what is somebody else's, if they are able to self-care and clean their own waters, as opposed to letting things ferment and become toxic, that the things that they accumulate, the things that they hold on to. At its worst, I've known several Pisces people who are literally just receptacles for flotsam and jetsam of other people's emotions, their thoughts, their feelings, their experiences. And I constantly have to remind these people, when was the last time you did a garbage dump? Yeah, when was the last time you actually let go of all of the things that you've accumulated? And that can be somewhat of an issue, because then Pisces will make its identity what it has accumulated, or it will fall into the trap of the martyr archetype and think that, oh, well, it's helping other people and it's being a healer by taking on other people's stuff. Therefore, it can't let go of those things because it is its identity. And again, false, right? So, boundary issues. Again, the ruling planet is Jupiter, is Jove. And when we think of Jupiter as the planet of rapid expansion, we talked about this a little bit with Sagittarius and the fire that spreads. The water that spreads is literally the ocean, right? Pisces is the ocean. It is vast, it is open, it has things floating in it. There are some tides and currents, but it's mostly just this mass of water. And that is what Pisces identifies with energetically. The symbol of Pisces is the hooked fishes. This line representing a fish, that line representing a fish, and then the horizontal line in between representing the hook that's in each of their mouths, kind of connecting them, or the ropes that are around their tail. And this is also a symbol that represents the struggle of Pisces, because Pisces is mutable or dual-bodied. We talked about that in the Gemini video. Pisces often is conflicting with its two natures, one nature that wants to help and one nature that wants to be selfish, one nature that wants to be extroverted, the other that wants to be introverted, one nature that prefers to focus on the light, the joy, the excitement, the young of life, whereas another side that wants to focus on the yin, the sadness, the rest, the accumulation, the depth, the intrigue of life. And those two sides constantly opposing in Pisces. Now, this is where we get into an interesting experience with the octaves of Pisces. Again, each sign has its negative expressions and its positive expressions, its highest expressions and its lowest expressions. At the highest expression of Pisces, the ultimate value of the sign of the fishes is oneness, is the ability to merge into the ocean of consciousness and to use that mutability to tap into what is the collective, right? Which can bring forward some amazing spiritual truths, some amazing art, some amazing healing. Yeah, surrendering into that ocean of awareness can be truly a phenomenal experience. And Pisces has the ability to do that without drugs, on its own, without prodding. Sometimes you'll see that's often why Pisces will listen to music or will be involved in the arts or will potentially turn to substances like alcohol, is because they've lost their ability to merge into that oneness naturally, and they seek to express themselves on that higher vibrational platform of the sign by rekindling their connection to that spiritual sense of oneness and collective. But ultimately, when Pisces has its self-care game on point, Pisces is able to dissolve into that collective consciousness without issue. And that's also what makes it a beautiful sign, is its ability to both be one with that sense of oneness, and then also to be separate from that sense of oneness and to pull through or channel those inspirational values of being part of that collective. Now, the deepest weakness of Pisces is very similar to Sagittarius in its escapism, right? Pisces, when it refuses to take care of itself, and when it's surrounded by the flotsam and jetsam of the world that it accumulates, and when it is surrounded by people, places, and things that have a hard knock life, and it just takes on all of those burdens, and it just pollutes its inner oceans to the extent that it sees no more good in the world. Yeah, Pisces will then seek to escape. It will seek to dive to the depths, and it will seek to drown itself, often in substances, which is why Pisces, as the sign of the fishes, is often considered prone to alcoholism. I would argue that all of the water signs are very prone to alcoholism, just like the mutable signs are prone to drug use, because that's what restores their mutable nature. And Pisces really gets the worst of both of those qualities. But at the same time, when we look at the deepest weakness of escapism, what is Pisces trying to escape into? It's just trying to leap into a cleaner ocean, and it's trying to connect with that vast sense of oneness that it's forgotten. But really, the way to help Pisces clear out its own heaviness, its own waste, its own accumulation, that's really the highest goal. And instead of escapism, things like spiritual pursuits, meditation, artistic expression, the things that it needs will help to naturally flow the waters as opposed to making them stagnate and accumulate. So the needs of Pisces do include expression, and that can be artistic expression, that can be vocal expression, that can be emotional expression, that can be expression of intimacy, that can be expression of caregiving, that can be so many forms of expression. But Pisces, as a sign that is naturally intuitive and tapped into the universal dynamic of oneness, does require the ability to express the vastness of that experience through some sort of medium. Yeah. So I'll often encourage my clients with strong Pisces placements to pick up an artistic activity. Yeah, they don't necessarily need to be good at that artistic activity. Yeah, they don't need to be shooting for being displayed in, the MoMA or anything, but they do need some sort of expression. That could be acting, that could be cooking, that could be crafts, that could be social experiments, that could be going out in nature, that could be so many things. But the idea of expressing that interconnection, and also through that expression, having to let go of what has been accumulated, is a big thing for Pisces. And when we say expression, especially from an artistic perspective, I want to put the muses in here, because the muses and the ability to be artistic and spiritually expressive is a very strong need for Pisces. Pisces, because it's tapped into that collective, is a very inspired sign. Just like Sagittarius, Jupiter is the abundant planet. It is the planet of rapid expansion and luck and divine intervention in some ways. And because of that, it rules things like faith, and it rules things like connection, and it rules things like divine influence. And so connecting to one's muses is going to be very important with strong Pisces placements. And that's going to be Pisces on the ascendant, moon in Pisces, sun in Pisces, any combination of the two, or ruling planet in Pisces as well. Now, this is something that is a need, the final need, which is something that Pisces will naturally fight against, but it is for their highest good, physical movement. Yeah, and this is me kind of interjecting some of my medical astrology background as well, but because Pisces rules the lymphatic system, and we talk about that more in kind of Science 101, the online class that I teach, but when we respect that Pisces rules the lymphatic system, which is stagnant by nature, it requires muscular movement in order to thrive. And Pisces as an ocean, yeah, will stagnate unless it has tides, unless it has currents, yeah. This is something that Pisces needs to understand. Is one of the ways that it flushes waste from its system, one of the ways that it deals with some of its emotional baggage is through physical movement and exercise, and that being one of the healthiest forms of self-care that a Pisces or strong Pisces placements could possibly interject. Because when you move, you break those stagnant patterns and you break that melancholy focus, and you are able to sift through and let go of your accumulation. Pisces, on the contrast, is going to be smothered by bad vibes. Because Pisces is such an absorbative sign, the top 5 people that they spend the most time with are going to be huge influences to them. And so if they're feeling out of sorts, if they're feeling like shit, if their physical body is crumbling, I will often remind my Pisces clients, hey, who have you been hanging around with? Yeah, because even your best intention is of you taking care of a parent, or you consoling a friend, yeah, you have too much absorption with Pisces. And although you think you're doing a good deed, unless your self-care is upped to match the increase of stress that you're inflicting on yourself by spending time with these people, yeah, you're just going to be mirroring their qualities and their bad vibes. Yeah. And there is a certain amount of that is acceptable. Yeah, but there is a lot of that is not acceptable, right? So people with bad vibes, the top 5 people that Pisces spend the most time with, very, very important to understand that dynamic. Rigidness as well. Pisces doesn't really do set schedules. Neither does any of the water signs or the besides Scorpio, or the mutable signs, really. We need to see, and Virgo would also be the exception to that, as the earth sign that focuses on lists and rigidness. But when we look at rigidness with Pisces, trying to put Pisces into a box, trying to make Pisces focus on what it needs to do task-wise, Pisces is too intuitive for that. It's too nonchalant for that. It's too emotionally driven for that. It wants to follow its heart. It wants to follow its natural impulses. Why would it follow a list when the list feels bad? Right? And often I have to agree that Pisces is going to be right in terms of its natural intuitive faculties. So lists and rigidness and hyper-focus, not necessarily something that fuels Pisces. In fact, it can suppress a lot of its good qualities. Spirals are another thing that Pisces is smothered by, and by spirals I mean self-inflicted patterns of not goodness, right? Because Pisces will tend to circle its own drain. And when Pisces lacks its self-care, when it spends too much time around people that are bad for it, when it starts to get chemical imbalance because of lack of movement, alcohol or drug consumption, lack of proper diet, its mutability and lack of routine start to get the best of it, and its chemical imbalances start to kick in. The spiral is really what is the final thing that will smother a Pisces, because it will just get out of the habit of practicing its expression and tapping into its muses and meditating and moving and doing things that are good for it. And because of that, it will just start to, again, accumulate and absorb the flotsam and jetsam of the ocean, the pollution, the plastics, the fishing lines of the ocean. And it will start to spiral, and it will start to get heavy, and it will start to fuse its identity with those things that it has accumulated, which will then turn it into a deeper downward spiral. But again, really easy to turn a Pisces around. I will often say with my water signs, quickest remedy for a water sign is to chug a glass of water and walk around the block. Because by then you're shaking out your emotions, you're surrounding yourself in nature, you're getting some sun, some vitamin D, you're refueling your rivers, you're pushing out stagnant fluid. There's so much simpleness in what water signs really require in order to be happy and healthy. But if we can break those cycles, especially with Pisces, we're going to find that the sign is a lot easier to manage. But it all comes back down to the basics of self-care and emotional contentment and being connected to the inspirational, collective, and intuitive resources that Pisces is just so, so gifted with. Okay, so that is Pisces in a nutshell. Or rather in a seashell. Haha, that was funny. If you enjoyed this, if you had some takeaways, if you have maybe some things that I missed or some experiences that you'd like to share, feel free to plop a comment below in the video underneath. And yeah, continue to watch the Science 101 series. We'll be doing this for all the signs, so make sure to watch for your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, the ruler of your planet, any planet. You know, having astrological information at your disposal in terms of self-knowledge is always a good thing. I'm also a professional astrologer, so if you don't understand a particular sign or if you would like to go deep into your chart, we can always work one-on-one and unpack the mysteries of your personal natal chart. I also teach astrology, so if you're interested in learning more, you can always go to my website, scorpiorisingastrology.com, check out the link for consultation requests, check out the online classes, and yeah, we'll get you all hooked up with the information and the self-awareness that you need. In the meantime, may the stars be ever in your favor.